The fourth one. The fourth one is experience the room without you. Experience the room without you. Uh, One of the things that led me on the path of starting to understand what my everyday brilliance was when I was having a conversation with someone and she said something to me, and I wasn't in the place. I didn't know how to receive. I didn't know how to receive, and I definitely didn't know how to own. Right? To receive, just so you know, receiving is your ability to take something in without deflecting. Right? And it's something different than like accepting. That's like maybe saying okay, thank you. The receive is to like really say, to take it in and be like, okay, well, I'm going to allow myself to believe this a bit. I'm not gonna push against it. And then owning is the next stage. That's like, well, this is mine now. So yes, of course, I'm happy to bring this to bring this to this engagement, or to help leverage you this in a new way. So she said to me, "You've never been in a room without you. You've never been in a room without you," and that struck me because it was true. I hadn't actually been in the room without me. I hadn't learned how to phase shift at that time, right? But she continued on to say, like, you bring an energy to the room. There's energy in the room that even when you aren't actively talking to someone, the room itself shifts. There's a lightness that comes. There's an energy. There's an electricity that's in the room. And you've never experienced the room without you, and that really struck me, and it gave me insight to, actually, I don't know what it is that I bring that isn't in the room when I'm not there. And so I invite you to experience the room without you. Like, the simple way to do this is to ask people around you this question: what's missing from an experience when I'm not there? When I leave a conversation, when I leave uh, the room with you, what leaves with me? Leave these questions as open-ended and leave them as ambiguous, because it's supposed to be confronting to the individual. Some people are going to be able to just be profusely be like, I've been waiting to tell you, this is what's different once you're gone, and this is why I love spending time with you. And other people are going to be like, oh, I've never really thought about it. And you're giving them the chance to appreciate, celebrate, and value differences, because they'll see something about what you give that they themselves either want for themselves, or that they themselves actually aspire or have for themselves as well. And in that way, you're creating more space, right? So, like, notice how these things continue to build upon one another, right? But it's that simple. Like, look to see what's changed. Tell me about that. What was that? I missed this meeting last week. Tell me what that was like. Oh man, it was, and pay attention to it. Experience the room without you. Watch recordings. See how people interact with things. See. Listen to what people say. Like, oh, I'm so glad that like when I'm with you, it's like this. They may also have different things where they're like, I'm so glad I get to spend this time with you, because most everywhere else I couldn't. And that gives you a clue into what some of your everyday brilliance is. Everywhere else I couldn't, no one else I can talk to is able to understand these concepts so quickly, because like every time I talk to you, you get me out of the jam that I'm in. Or no one else I'm able to talk to is willing to just take the time to just like really hear me and understand what's happening beneath the surface. All those things are about experiencing the room without you. I'm going to make sure that you're taking some time to do that. That will help you cultivate that everyday brilliance. And look, it's a courageous practice. Asking that, spending the time to really to look someone in the eye and say, what about that was special for you? That's a great one to come to. Experience the room without you is. I have a concept of a distinction of feedback versus feed forward. I think most times people give feedback. It's in my mind, it's abysmal. Like, I'm like, what are you doing here? What, like, the feedback that you're giving me is not based on my strengths. It's based on your strengths, or what you would like to have be better for you. In that case, you're just trying to model me into another version of you. And I get the sense that it's hard enough being you, that I probably shouldn't try that as well. The other thing that tends to disappoint me when it comes to feedback, and I'm using this language very deliberately. I'm using language like disappoint. I'll talk about not being impressed here, because this is an edgier topic for me. It's something I actually do feel a lot of energy about, where I'm like, I feel let down by people's feedback. A lot of it is focused on, so a lot of times it's focused not on the individual that's in front of them, but actually your projection of who that individual could be. And that's often tainted by you yourself. Again, appreciate the differences. We're reflections of each other. Um, and beyond that, there, the level of depth you usually get, they talk about like the feedback sandwich, right, where the overwhelming majority of it is the negative things that you should get better at. I think most people miss the point of feedback. And so I had to, like, I can't even call it feedback. I had to come up with my own word with it. I call it feed forward. I was first introduced to that idea back in 2000, and I think 12, when I was working in consulting, and just like the idea of feed forward, I was like, oh, that's a cool concept. My definition is different, but I think it was born from there. And the idea here of feeding forward is, what can you share back with someone that will help them to be able to move forward in the places where they have, I look at disproportionate return, the places where they're able to put in 10% of the effort to get 10 times the result. If you're not looking for effectiveness like that, if you're not looking for leverage and like not even scale, but leverage at that level, then like you're answering the wrong questions. You're not answering a question that is powerful enough to really make to change the needle. And if you're looking, and I'll be honest, if you're looking for just like, small incremental changes, then like there are going to be some elements of this that won't ever that won't ever call out the courageousness that's necessary to bring this to life. Because my friend, your life will change if you start to actually implement these practices. So I invite people to practice feed forward, and I myself practice feed forward. Practice inviting others to practice feed forward may look at listening intently with the things that you did right. Typically, I'll use myself as an example. I'll have clients that will ask for feedback on various things, and I'll give them my feed forward, and it's just littered with all the things that I thought went really well, all the bright spots that they had. And they look at me and they're like, "Oh, thank you! Like, you're so positive, you're so kind, but I really do need some like feedback in order to like do this. I hear all the things that I did really well," and I'm like, "You've missed it. You've missed it here. And here I am helping you have an experience of the room without you, because you've only done this well. I need you to take this skill set, because this comes easy to you. I spend time, I see other people struggling, and this stuff comes easy to you. And you're only performing it at this level. You need to take this skill set from being good or well, and being able to do that exceptionally, amazingly, stupendously, outstandingly. Like, you have to like raise the bar on that, because you can get a disproportionate amount of value for a disproportionate amount of effort. That's feed forward. That's if you're giving it, right? And that's also what you should be able to look for. Like, ask for, what did I do well that I'm not taking to a strong enough height? The counter to this is that you're going to want to, as you see this in engineering. Like, if someone's a software engineer and they're like, they can code, and the code that they make is 10 times the value of other people, they don't spend time saying, "Oh, but you're slow on this other part, so let's get you there." No, the great teams delegate that work that is ineffective for that individual to other people, and continue to let the 10x person create 10x work. There's a lot of insight in the way that tech companies approach things that, if we applied it to ourselves, could be really meaningful. That's another video though. So we'll let that go. If you're getting feedback, and you're finding that it's not the type of feed forward that you're looking for, what I also find is that people tend to not go deep enough. They'll just tell you something like, "Oh, I'm really impressed with what you did." And you're like, "Oh, thank you. Oh, that was really great. Just want to say that was the best one you've done so far." Awesome. That's typically the way that the conversation goes. It is your responsibility, if you really want to cultivate this everyday brilliance here, to step into the courageous practice. And the courageous practice is to simply ask one of two things. One of them's like, what was the most impactful thing of that for you? Why? It's just a really one word, simple way to get much more robust solution. What about that made that stick out for you? Can you tell me more? Really. So you're saying you're saying that you really thought that was my best presentation. What did you feel that I did differently in this presentation that really transcended the things that I'd done in the past? Where did you feel people had connected the most? You know, and just get some like take the time to drill down. Take the time to drill down. Why was that important to you? What did you like? All these types of questions that allow you to bring your curiosity. It gives you a chance to experience you from someone else's perspective. That's what experience a room without you is all about. How can you experience you from someone else's perspective, but not as a reflection of them, but actually as you? We're just getting started. Click on the link below to watch the full conversation and go to niiamahashong.com/tribe to get additional resources and exclusive invitation to tribe only events. Journey on.